some sort of strategic game to describe the situation, because there's so much brinkmanship going on, so much bluffing, and so much testing out of your opponent. In this case, Khrushchev, between the Bay of Pigs and this summit, has determined now that he's dealing with a much more immature, as one of his aides said, American leader, far more immature than Eisenhower. And inside the Kremlin's Cold War, they write, quote, "After the first day of talks at the Vienna summit, Khrushchev's advisors, who waited for his return in front of the Soviet embassy, asked him about his impressions of Kennedy. Khrushchev waved his hand dismissively. Kennedy, he said, was no match for Eisenhower. He lacked the broad horizons and the statesmanship of the earlier president." End quote. But this changed Khrushchev's view of the man and what he could get away with and what he might decide to try, which is exactly what Zubov and Pleshikov say. Khrushchev told his advisors when some of them said, maybe we should kind of listen to this and maybe that will mean better relations, and Khrushchev told them that the favorable situation must be exploited. In other words, Khrushchev originally went into this whole thing maybe trying to diffuse tensions, saw that he was faced with what he thought was a weak president, a weak player on the other side of the table, couldn't turn down the fabulous opportunity that the roll of the historical dice seemed to have delivered to his side, and so began to play the game the way he would have played it in a pre-nuclear era, the way Machiavelli would have told you to play it. But as Kennedy theorized, when neither side wants war, you're likely to have one break out over some miscalculation. Khrushchev was making a dangerous one by thinking that Kennedy was weak. He was now going to play his hand based on the assumption that that's the kind of man he was competing against. What happens when that gaming strategy runs smack dab into the fact that you have misjudged your opponent? Perhaps apocalyptically so. Part 3 of the Destroyer of Worlds. The people from the Bertrand Russell side of the evolve to deal with our weapons technology debate would say that the problem here is the game itself is too dangerous because it involves brinkmanship. That's how it's played. That's why everyone, including me, compares it to a game. The rules were laid out very openly by U.S. Secretary of State John Foster Dulles in the middle 1950s when he said, quote, "The ability to get to the verge without getting into the war is the necessary art. If you cannot master it, you inevitably get into a war. If you try to run away from it, if you're scared to go to the